What do you think about this question? Which of the following is correct? Is it first one or the second one? Think about it and please keep on watching this video to check your answer. Hello everyone, welcome to Dona's Academy. Alright, so what did you think about this question? What was your answer? Is it first one or the second one? Indeed, you'll be surprised. The correct answer is none of them are correct, right? Both are incorrect. Alright, I know you are surprised and confused. So let me explain the correct answer, right? Okay, so let me take the first one. Square root x square equals plus or minus 6. Now, why is it incorrect? So what I'm going to explain is square root x square not equals plus or minus 6. Alright, now if you are given this equation x square equals 25, you know that the answers are x equals plus or minus 5. That is exactly correct. Then how come this is incorrect? Now this positive answer here, plus 5, is called the principal square root of 25. Principal square root of 25. Sometimes we call positive square root, or if the context is clear, we just say square root of 25. This negative number, negative 5, is called the negative square root. Alright, now this, if you write with this symbol, square root 25, then this represents only the positive answer, only the principal square root, right? This is a definition or a notation. This one represents only the positive answer. So that's why this is incorrect. So we can say plus or minus x, right? So we just take the positive or the principal square root if you are using this symbol, right? Square root 25 means just positive 5. Always it represents a positive answer. Maybe still you are confused. So let me give more evidence. Alright, so let me recall the solution formula of a quadratic equation. So if you are given a quadratic equation of this form, ax square plus bx plus c equals 0, here a is non-zero, then the solution formula is negative b plus or minus and then square root b square minus 4ac divided by 2a. Now look at this. Now look at this. If this square root sign already represent a plus or minus thing, then why do we put plus or minus in front of that, right? So that's the reason. See, this is another evidence. So this symbol represent only a positive square root. Okay, so then for example, if you have square root 64, is it plus or minus 8? No, it is just 8, positive 8. If you have square root 9, it is positive 3. So don't forget that. And if you want to write the negative square root, then you have to put negative sign in front of this number. Then it is negative 8, right? Negative square root 9 means negative 3. All right. Now I think first one is clear, right? This one is now okay. Now then how come the second one is incorrect? I just said square root 25 is just 5. It is exactly this thing. Then how come it is still incorrect? Indeed, the second one is incorrect for some x's. Actually, it is true for positive x's. However, it is not true for negative x's. Let me explain that one too. So now I'm going to explain this thing. Now let me take the same example I took before. Square root 25. Now first I'll write square root 5 square. Square root 5 square. What is this? Square root 25. And what is the answer? It is positive 5. Now I will consider negative 5 square. Square root of negative 5 square. What is this? This thing is again square root 25, right? Because negative 5 times negative 5 is positive 25. Now what is the answer? It is again positive 5. Now these two are equal to each other, right? Equal. However, if this is correct, if this one is correct, what is happening to the first one? According to this, what is this one? This one is positive 5. How about this one, the second one? Here x is negative 5, not positive 5, right? So if this is correct, then this represents negative 5. Now since these two are equal to each other, this implies 5 equals negative 5. Is it correct? Not at all, right? It is incorrect. So that's why this is not true for all x's. So it is not true for negative x's. So indeed, this is the correct thing we have to have. If x is positive or 0, then square root x square is exactly x. If x is negative, then square root x square is what? It can't be x. Because here, see, you had here x is, use red. Here x is negative 5. However, the answer was positive 5. So what did we do to get the correct answer? We had to multiply x by negative 1. So this should be negative x. Alright, so this is the correct formula for square root x square for these two cases. So we can't, we can write a single formula for that is valid for all x's. However, this coincides with something else we already know. Let me recall the absolute value function. The absolute value function is represented by, let's say it is fx equals two vertical lines and in between x. This is the notation for absolute value function. And how do we define it? If x is greater than or equal to 0, then it is just x. If x is less than 0, it is negative x, because this always represents a positive value. Now, do you find any similarity between absolute value function and this thing? Did you notice that both represent the same thing? Yes, right? Because here if x is positive 0, then square root x square is x. Here if x is greater than or equal to 0, fx is x. And here if x is negative, it is negative x. Here x negative, negative x. So they coincide with each other. So that means square root x square is nothing but the absolute x. This is the correct formula we have to use for square root x square. Don't forget this. Please remember this formula of square root x square. It is always absolute x. Alright. Now let me go back to some examples. So we had square root negative 5 square. This should be absolute negative 5. What is the absolute value of negative 5? Positive 5. This is exactly what we got before. Now we should had square root negative 6 square. It is absolute value of negative 6. It should be positive 6. And if you have square root 7 square, it is absolute value of 7. It is 7 again. So this always represents a positive value, and it is exactly same as absolute x. Alright, now let's go back to the equation I was talking about at the beginning. What was the equation? We were solving this equation, and the final answers were x equals plus or minus 5. Now, the final answer is correct. However, the thing is, I have seen that some students do this kind of calculation to get this answer. What they do is, they take square root of both sides. That's exactly correct. Nothing wrong with that. Then they write x equals plus or minus 5. This calculation is a little bit misleading. Let's see why. So it looks like you are taking square root x square equal to x, and square root 25 is equal to plus or minus 5. These are the two things we just talked about, and they are incorrect, right? So that's why there is a this is misleading, and actually there is a gap between these two steps. So let's fill that gap. There is a gap between these two. Let's fill that using the formula we just derived. Okay. All right. So let me correct it. Correct calculation to solve this equation. So we have x square equals 25. Then we write square root x square equals square root 25. This is exactly correct, because if these two numbers are equal to each other, then their square roots should be equal to each other. Now, what can we say about the left hand side? Left hand side is equal to absolute x. So let's replace the left hand side by absolute x. How about the right hand side? We know that it is positive 4. This is the gap, right? This is the step missing in this calculation. All right, now what can you say about x? Absolute x is equal to 5. Then what can we say about x? X should be either positive 5 or negative 5. Anything else? No, not at all. So the answers are plus or minus 5. So this is how we should solve this equation. All right, so don't mix things up. If you have square root or something, then it always represents a positive or the principal square root. It doesn't represent plus or minus thing. However, if you have to solve an equation like this, then there are two solutions. That's true. However, this is the correct calculation you have to write for that kind of problem. All right, so I think before that, sometimes we write x to the power 1/2. Sometimes we write this notation to represent the square root, and this is same as square root x. All right, this is another notation we are using. So this is exactly square root x, or the principal square root. All right, I think you learned something today, and if you had a confusion, I think I clear it up. All right, so thank you so much for watching. So if you have not subscribed to my channel yet, please press the red button below, and don't forget to press the bell icon next to it so that you can get notifications as soon as I upload videos. And if you enjoyed this video, like the video, and please share it with your friends. All right, so have a nice day and stay tuned.